And good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juliette Dragus.
And I'm Elena Holland. This is a special edition of 13 on Your Side.
News that impacts you and your community. 13 on Your Side Evening News starts now.
We are preempting Judge Judy today to bring you extended coverage of the storm damage here in West Michigan. You're looking at it right now, some of it.
Yeah, it's so widespread in Muskegon County. Officials have activated their Emergency Operations Center.
Strong winds took down trees across the county, knocking out power to tens of thousands of customers and damaging homes. At one point late this morning, 50% of the roads in the county were considered impassable because of the down lines. Yeah,
when the National Weather Service issued this morning's severe thunderstorm warning, they described the system moving through as destructive.
Chief Meteorologist George Lessons joins us now to talk about exactly what happened this morning. George.
Yeah, yesterday evening we were talking about the potential for strong storms coming through prior to daybreak. That is indeed what happened. Let's turn the clock back to late last night. This was right around at 10 o'clock. Those storms starting to form over northwest Wisconsin. Models were very good at picking this up, and this was already a very strong storm as it moved through northern Wisconsin, through the Green Bay, Wisconsin area, and it finally came on shore around 4 a.m. along the lakeshore, and by 6 a.m. it had blasted through the Whitehall and Muskegon areas. We had a little line of storms coming through the Grand Rapids area, but that back end line caught up with the front end line, and it just bowed all the way down to the south into the Kalamazoo area, and then finally exiting the state right around at 10 o'clock in the morning. In the wake of that, we've had just some cloud cover. And of course, a lot of wind damage, mainly because of winds up to about 70 miles per hour. Northeast of Norton Shores there, 71, 70 in Norton Shores. We had a 68 mile per hour wind gust here in the Comstock Park area. Many areas seeing winds at 58 plus miles per hour, especially along the lakeshore. Let's go back to 10 o'clock. You can see the storm reports as that storm moved right over northern Wisconsin and into southwest lower Michigan. Today we had 54 total storm reports, but yesterday we had a lot more. Now, we talked about the severe thunderstorm warnings. We have several levels of severe thunderstorm warnings and their impacts. This was the top end destructive winds with 80 plus mile per hour winds, and of course we can activate the sirens not only for tornadoes, but for winds of 70 plus miles per hour. That's why you may have heard the sirens go off here earlier this morning. Other than that, we're done with the storms, but we'll take a look at more on the storms coming up a little bit later on.
Thank you, George.
We have crews all over this afternoon assessing the damage after the storm. Micah Cho, meteorologist Samantha Jacks, and Jeremiah Brown all spent the day in Muskegon County.
And we begin with Jeremiah, who is in one of the hardest hit areas. Jeremiah, where are you and how bad is it?
Well, Julia and Elena, we're here at Spring Valley Estates, like you said, in Whitehall, which is one of the most hardest hit areas. Just take a look at this home right here. If you can see through the trees, there is a tree sitting on top of the home, but actually behind the house, there is a gashing hole where a tree went through, where we can see right into the bedroom. We actually spoke with the homeowner earlier who said he was sleeping when the storms hit. He said his wife screamed for him to come downstairs. He got up, went out of the bedroom. He says he got into the hallway and was about to go back inside to grab some clothes when boom, he said there was just a puff of insulation everywhere as the tree came down. Fortunately, himself and no one else was hurt, but just take a look down this road in this neighborhood. Actually, at that brown house at the end, there's a car that has been crushed by a fallen tree. Now, of course, you can see lots of just down tree limbs everywhere. This has been a scene all across Muskegon County as we've been going in different neighborhoods here in Whitehall. We've actually had a lot of difficulty just getting around throughout the day just because of the amount of trees that are down and the amount of roads that were blocked. Fortunately, you know, we've been seeing lots of road crews and first responders out clearing those roads, even just neighbors in certain communities coming together to get those roads clear. Of course, we advise, you know, everyone's advising just lots of caution in these neighborhoods, especially if there's down power lines and downed phone lines. And of course, here in this neighborhood, at least, everyone is just waiting for, you know, their next steps. Spirits have been pretty good though. Everyone's saying it's fortunate that no one was injured. Even though people don't have power, they're outside cooking food, making sure everyone has, you know, necessities, even people getting clean clothes for some of their neighbors who might not have access to their clothes right now because there's a tree that went through their bedroom. So with that, we're gonna have more from the storm impacts on Whitehall here later this evening. We're gonna send it back to you, Julia and Elena.
Jeremiah, thank you for that report from Whitehall.
Once again, Muskegon County has activated its Emergency Operations Center. County officials held a news conference this afternoon updating the cleanup efforts.
13 Your Side's Micah Cho was there and joins us now live with the latest. They have a lot of work ahead of them there, right, Micah?
Yeah, absolutely. And the Muskegon County Emergency Manager Director also said that crews are going to be working nonstop to be able to clear these roads and make them more passable. Now, earlier this afternoon, around 50% of roads were impassable. As mentioned earlier, that was mainly due to power lines and trees being down across the roadways. Richard Houtman, a spokesperson for Consumers Energy, said in today's press conference that crews will be working 16-hour shifts to help clear some of those lines and again restore power. Here's Emergency Management Director Renee Gavin on what roads and commutes look like at this time.
Primary highways are open, however, multiple residential and secondary roads remain closed due to power lines and debris on streets from Norton Shores to Muskegon to Whitehall. These roads include the areas of Whitehall and Michelinda Roads, Russell and Riley Thompson Roads, Seaway Drive, secondary roads in Blue Lake, Dalton and Muskegon Townships.
And those with Consumers Energy say that they hope to have the power back on by tomorrow, but work could stretch into Friday afternoon. For now, in Muskegon, Micah Cho, 13 on your side.
Also in Muskegon County, campers narrowly escaped injury when trees toppled down around them in the storm. 13 on your side, meteorologist Samantha Jacks continues our live coverage now, and she is in Veterans Memorial Park in Muskegon County to tell us where these campers were, Sam.
Yeah, Julia, they were at Pioneer Park. We did have to relocate because the power outages were so expansive that unfortunately we could no longer get service from the campsite itself. But let me tell you, it was 5:30 in the morning when those storms came racing through, 70-mile-per-hour wind gusts, and it only gave the campsite, those who were visiting it, moments to react to these dangerous and powerful storms.
Well, about 5 o'clock this morning, we were, both sleeping off and on because you could hear the rain and the wind, and all of a sudden the whole inside of the tent just expanded and you heard this massive whoosh and the tent started to collapse.
Collapsed on my side first.
Yep.
And then I was able to yell to him, jolting him, and he moved just enough to miss that tree that came down on his pillow.
This area right here, this is where my head was.
No.
Yeah, and I could feel the tree on my shoulder as I was sliding off the cot.
Rich and his wife Patty then had to crawl out of this tent. The first thing crossing their mind, where's their family? It's a family reunion that was all happening just to the right of me, but you can see his brother's tent completely encompassed by trees. Thankfully, none of them were hurt. And this was just the start of the damage here at Pioneer Park. One couple just up the road started their evening celebrating their 27th wedding anniversary and, of course, woke up to a very different morning.
It was probably about, 5:30 in the morning. And I was sitting in the camper looking out the side window, and I could see the trees kind of bending sideways, and I was like, oh no, this isn't good.
And I just made a quick comment like, I hope a tree doesn't fall on our camper. Like, that would be awful.
And then we heard the crack, and then I was lodged down onto the floor by something that had hit me. And I was just talking and trying to listen to see if everybody else was okay.
What's going through your head in a moment like that?
Well,
survival.
Yes. First of all, you wait to hear to make sure that he's speaking. He's waiting to hear that I'm speaking. And then when we're both knowing that we're okay, then I'm like, where's the year-old puppy that we have in the trailer with us? And she wouldn't come. She was scared. She was shivering. I literally just kind of grabbed her collar and I thought, well, if I injure her this way, it's going to be better than her, being in that trailer. We left in the pouring down rain. We prayed the whole way that God would provide a road for us to get through so that we could get home to check on our kids. We went through some rough roads, but we did get home.
Storm damage encompassing this entire campsite. Even look at this, a tree branch that pushed straight through the camper. You can even see surrounded by the insulation of the camper itself.
It was a traumatic
ride,
but
thankful that we're alive.
Thankful.
And possessions can be replaced.
Absolutely.
And so
Tents thrown, campsites completely demolished, but so grateful that nobody, incredibly so, was injured. But it didn't just stop there at Pioneer Park. Now we're at Veterans Memorial, just a few miles up the road, again, just so that we could have some better service to report to all of you. And look at this tree behind me. The roots completely ripped out of the ground. The tree then toppled over, taking down this power pole. And this is a large tree that came down just right here in the city. Cars racing by. And it's this type of damage that's not just in campsites and on streets. It's also on people's homes surrounding the community. Power outages everywhere. We were up the road at Brooklyn Bagel. Couldn't even connect to their Wi-Fi because there were so many people in there just trying to get service, trying to charge their devices, just completely packed, trying to recover from these storms. So we're going to continue to check out the area, of course, throughout the evening and night. But again, just so grateful that they weren't hurt from the storms, those in Pioneer Park. Reporting live from North Muskegon, I'm meteorologist Samantha Jacks.
Samantha, thank you. And once the storms passed, people quickly jumped into action and started helping each other after the storm. 13 News Side's Nathan Lee joins us now from the newsroom with that part of the story. Nathan.
Yes, Elena, Northeast Muskegon was hit hard this morning. Many roads in the area were blocked off by fallen trees and those downed power lines. Now, locals say the wind was intense, with some houses being hit by fallen trees. But after things calmed down, community members spent the day clearing those roads with tractors and chainsaws. Now, lots of people had close calls during the storms. A woman leaving for work with her 2 kids were even struck by a falling tree. Luckily, a nearby neighbor heard the crash and rushed out to help her, pulling both the woman and her 2 children out of the car completely unharmed. She says she hopes that if others were in her shoes, they'd do the same thing.
I just hope that there are people like ourselves out there helping their neighbors and stuff out, even though you don't have to know them to help out. Just go ahead and give them a hand and do your duty that needs to be done.
Play it forward.
Pay it forward, it's right.
Now, some roads earlier today were unable to be cleared because of those active power lines, but community members told me they would continue to help out in other areas as much as they can. In the newsroom, Nathan Lee, 13 on your side.
Nathan, thank you. And we want to emphasize there was not a tornado this morning, but many counties sounded the sirens anyway.
Up next, why officials say the public needs to change how they react to emergency warnings.